is to give people the confidence that, whilst we're trying to match children as best as possible by their faith and ethnicity, there may be circumstances where children are placed in cross-cultural placements, and historically it's been the norm where we've seen that we're able to place black and Asian minority ethnic children within white adoption families, but often we haven't seen the reverse to be the truth. So what we need to do is to make the sector more inclusive and give people from various backgrounds the confidence that they too can provide this level of support.
There's lots to talk about. Thanks so much for being part of the conversation. Shadim Hussain, CEO of My Adoption Family. Well, let me know your experience with this. 0345 6060 973. I appreciate, for all the obvious reasons you may not want to give your name, but I'd love to hear how things were for you, good or bad. You can also text 84850. We'll get to calls, texts and tweets after the news now from Tim Humphrey.
Ministers are due to discuss whether to expand the use of daily COVID testing for some critical sectors. It's what the government's considering vaccination certificates for university students. And Team GB have a big day, picking up 5 medals in Tokyo. The weather, showery rain in Northern Ireland, will move into western Scotland and England this evening. Most other areas dry with some low cloud and a low of 9.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. There are queues on the M1 northbound after an accident earlier on between junction 8 for Hemel Hempstead and junction 9 for Redbourne, but all the lanes are now open. It's very slow on the M25 clockwise after a car breakdown earlier between junction 23 for the A1M and junction 24 for Potters Bar. There are queues in Clapham on the A3 in both directions. That's because of a burst water main between Northcote Road and Clapham Common, so there are temporary traffic lights in place. It's very slow in West Wickham. The High Street is closed in both directions. That's because of an accident between the Swan traffic lights and Manor Park Road, and there's no service on the Woolwich Ferry because of a strike.
LBC. When you remember this year's holiday, will you think of the waves gently lapping on the shore? The sun setting over rolling hills? Or sat bored out of your mind with a flat tire, waiting for a recovery truck? Running fine motorway breakdowns are caused by tire problems. Before you set off, check your tire pressure. Highways England.
And email 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Builder Ali spent his 40-year career whistling as he worked. Then he was offered a free pension review from what he thought was a reputable firm. But it was a scammer, and his lifetime savings was stolen.
Hey, waiter! Another bottle of Shelford over here.
Don't let a scammer ensure your retirement. Check who you're dealing with. Visit ScamSmart from the Financial Conduct Authority.
We're Choked Up, young Londoners who want you to hear our voice in the fight for cleaner air. Too many Londoners live in areas with illegal pollution levels, mainly caused by vehicle pollution. We say it's time to act. That's why TfL is expanding the ultra-low emission zone. We can all do to fight for clean air. Join us. Be part of the solution. Search TfL Air Quality.
To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Excuse me, is there a cash point near here?
Of course, end of this street. It's actually 48 steps for someone 5'11" with size 10 feet. Then turn 90 degrees counterclockwise and continue for 341 metres. That's 372.922 yards in old money. Then
At Zeiss, we pride ourselves on being precise, really precise. Engineering innovative technology into every lens we make, all subtly engraved with our signature hallmark. Zeiss lenses, precision you can see. Available at Boots Opticians.
We've come a long way in the fight against COVID-19. Many more of our favourite places are fully open for business again. Shops, stadiums, cafes, cinemas and nightclubs. And if we work together, we can keep them that way. But the virus is still with us, so we should all carry on protecting our friends and family. So if you have mild symptoms, don't guess. Take a test and stay at home if you think you could have the virus, even if you've been vaccinated. Let's keep life moving. Find out more at nhs.uk/get-tested.
if you're a freeholder or a right to manage company director, you'll know your sector never stops. So it's good to know that when your block is looked after by ABC Estates block management team, our family business will never stop looking after you. Service charge collections, we never stop. Insurance, we never stop.
through it. But trying to find a child that you could bring home to your home, that was a bit frustrating, and it wasn't until the 21st application for a child that we got approved.
So give me an idea of how this works. So you go through a sort of agreement in principle right at the start, just to see if you're okay?
Yeah, so you have to basically say you're interested in adopting. You then will meet with lots of social workers and case study people, and they basically go through a process to check, are you suitable? So they're going to check the house where you live, what your job is, you know, you're going to be at home, you travel a lot, what's your wife or partner or husband or anyone do, and just, are you suitable? Can you provide for a child? Do you understand that not every child is the same? Some of them will come with certain traits, you've got to take account of that. And once you've gone through all of that, you can interview a child, and if they like you, they will say, right, you're now approved. But that does not mean that just get the child out.
So that's the bit that took a year. It took a year to be approved, and then it was about finding the right child. Why did it take?
Yeah.
Did you say the 21st attempt?
Yeah, so it was almost a year from it being approved. We applied for 20 children. We kept on I'm not saying it might just be, but we got to remember, it's you versus thousands of other families out there that want to adopt a child. So, you know, you're all going to put your name in the hat. You're going to write down why you're suitable for the child or what you offer. And at the end of the day, the child's social worker or carer is going to have to make a decision over who they think is more suitable. We nearly gave up the bid. We I mean, on New Year's Eve, we saw the details of the child. We thought twice about applying. We then applied, and lo and behold, 2 months later, we got told you're a good match for the child. So what I want to say there is, you know, trying to accommodate
Nice to hear, Imran. Thank you. Here's Debbie in Norwich. Hi, Debbie. What can you add to the conversation?
Hello, Eddie. Oh, that was lovely. It was lovely to hear your former caller. So I'm also a parent. I don't really like the term adopted parent, and when someone refers to me as that, I always forget, in fact, that my children are adopted. We went through the process. My daughter's now 19, so that was 17 years ago for her, and my son is now 16, and 15 years ago for him. Just listening to your former caller, it's a very, very rigorous process, and it's the matching process that can often take so much time with children. Our experience was extremely positive. I think what made me call up today is I wear a number of hats professionally. I've been a family solicitor, I'm now a family mediator. I also sit in a capacity on various panels making recommendations for families, both in relation to not so much permanency for adoption, but for fostering. And I really wanted to just say to anybody who is thinking about the process, it starts with the question, do I want to be a parent? As well as, of course, you know, what can I add? But it's a very personal journey, but it is one that is not to be taken lightly. But it is such a positive experience, and I really would encourage others. Listening earlier to the strategy, I agree with your first caller. Nothing has really changed. Many people apply to adopt who don't own their houses, who are older. The criteria really are whether you're able to provide a safe home for a child, and that process is extremely rigorous. We've had very, very positive experiences. We actually adopted in London. We now live in Norfolk. Norfolk has been exceptionally helpful to our family in the later years for my children. And I wanted to say also that it's it's a lifelong process, and we've accessed the Adoption Support Fund really to get additional help at different times for teenage issues that come up, which are coupled with a child's identity in terms of, where did I come from? Like your former caller, we've been always extremely open. But, I really would encourage others. We've had a very, very successful family and story.
And what about the very personal nature of the process? I'm sure when people start it, they know they're going to be asked personal questions. It's going to be quite exposing. But I wonder if they're ready for how it really is.
I think it is about good communication, good information. Yes, it's a very rigorous process. I remember, for example, our social worker, this was many, many years ago, speaking to both myself and my partner and really digging into, the history of our own childhood. I think some people find it much easier than others. I think if you go in with a very open, you have to provide information regarding your past. But, nothing, unless you've been involved in, ongoing criminal activity or, but they take all sorts of accounts of people's lives. So people who've had their own difficulties as young people, people come from all walks of life to the point where they say, I'm ready to provide a home, a safe home, and provide a good family. And I think for many people it's, do I want to be a parent? And there are so many different ways to be a parent. But yes, your point is absolutely right. You have to be prepared for a very rigorous process. But, in the same way as if somebody's going to have a child, that can be very intrusive and potentially so strange and whatever. Do we have the questions? Do you know how it feels to be a parent?
Yes. Debbie, thank you very much for all of that. Karen has emailed with this to pick up on a point we've already discussed. Ongoing therapeutic support, says Karen, is critical to assist both adopters and adoptees in achieving positive outcomes. It's very rare for any child coming into the system to not be affected by their experiences. So much research and evidence-based findings on neurodevelopment demonstrating that babies adopted at birth have many issues being through. Prenatal early life trauma has a significant impact on the mind and the brain, leading to developmental trauma disorder and attachment issues. Therapeutic parenting approaches and lots of trauma training is essential for all adopters to support their adopted children. And this text is from someone who is an adopted child, now in my 30s, this person says. I would suggest adopted parents should be allowed to foster children too. I grew up as an adopted child surrounded by fostered children, going in and out of my new home, creating a constant sense of uncertainty, and never accepted it as my forever home, whilst other children were coming and going. There was no support available, and I was almost made to feel selfish raising my feelings. I think fostering's amazing. I think adoption's amazing. I don't think the two should be combined in the same household. 0345 60 60 973, and you can also text 84850. 6:30 Tuesday.
The government's looking at whether more workers in England could be allowed to avoid self-isolation when pinned by the NHS COVID app is considering opening more emergency testing sites to help essential workplaces put under pressure by the number of employees having to quarantine. Labour says making it compulsory for university students to be fully vaccinated to attend lectures could deny young people access to education. The government is ruling out the prospect of compulsory COVID vaccination passports this coming academic year. Team GB have enjoyed a successful day at the Tokyo Olympics. Day 3 they won 3 gold medals and 2 silvers. The weather showery rain in Northern Ireland will move into western Scotland and England this evening. Most other areas will be dry with some low cloud and a low of 9.
This is LDC.
More and more people are using My Smart Desk to make smart working even more flexible. It'll raise and lower into any sitting or standing position at the touch of a button. And now comes
this 24-hour period. That's more than 4,000 down on yesterday and 15,000 fewer than last Monday. Consultant virologist at Cambridge University, Dr. Chris Smith, says it's very promising news.
We are doing a few fewer tests. It could be that there's less uptake of voluntary testing because people are thinking, right, I want to go on holiday. I don't want my holiday jeopardised by a positive test, so I'm not going to do that. But the sustained drop does appear to be too large and too sustained for that to be entirely the reason. So I'm looking at it the optimistic way, which is that we are genuinely seeing a reduction in cases, new cases, and that's almost certainly down to the effect of the vaccine.
Downing Street says the fall in coronavirus cases is encouraging, but has warned we're not out of the woods yet. Families Minister Vicky Ford says it's vital that people get jabbed.
It's obviously been very good and heartening to see the new numbers, testing numbers come down in the past couple of days, but we know it can go up again. So I would just encourage people to go out, get that vaccination, get that second vaccination.
Another 14 deaths have been recorded within 28 days of a positive test in the UK. More than 46.5 million people have now received the first dose of the coronavirus vaccine, and more than 37.2 million have received a second dose. The Labour leader has suggested to LBC that his party will support the use of vaccine passports in venues like football stadiums and nightclubs. Sir Keir Starmer has insisted they should be used alongside negative COVID tests, which the government's proposing to stop using from the autumn.
Certainly, the principle of vaccination and a negative test is one I would support. That was one I was very happy to sign up to go watching in the Euros. I think tests are actually more useful than double vaccinations, as the health secretary showed. He, of course, got COVID just about 10 days ago now, it's true, but he'd been double vaccinated. So I actually think tests are much more useful. The idea that we can go back to mass sporting events and other events without any checks is not one I subscribe to.
That's as Labour's criticised a reported government plan to insist that university students are fully vaccinated to attend lectures. The party says the move could deny young people access to education. As more coronavirus restrictions are eased in Northern Ireland, extra intensive care beds are being made available in Belfast amid a rise in COVID-19 admissions. Northern Ireland's Chief Nursing Officer Charlotte McCardle says there was a significant increase over the weekend, with 27 positions being occupied on Sunday. Around 60% of those admitted had not been vaccinated. From today in Northern Ireland, people don't need an appointment for close contact services like hairdressers, and 15 people can meet outdoors regardless of how many households they come from. Ministers there have been meeting today to discuss when to relax restrictions on the number of people who can meet indoors, as well as theatre audiences and the use of face coverings. It's claimed Scotland's coronavirus vaccine rollout is stalling after the country missed the target of having all 40 to 49-year-olds double jabbed by today. Labour's accused the Scottish government of a humiliating failure. The government there insists that no other targets have been missed, and hopes that UK holidaymakers could visit the US this summer have been dashed after a White House official said existing restrictions on international travel will be maintained. Most European travellers, including those from the UK, are currently banned from entering the US due to fears over the Delta strain of coronavirus. The US is on the UK's amber list.